Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to show you guys how to get this look right here. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. I hope you guys really like this video and stay tuned. Hello everybody, so we are going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to be using is this Dermalogica, and I'm just going to go ahead and get a small amount and then rub that all into my face. This this lotion, it is a daily moisturizer, and I don't feel like it messes with the foundation at all that I use, so I've been liking this one a lot. Okay, so the next thing that I am going to be using is this Anastasia Beverly Hills spoolie, and it has the brush on the end. And then what I'm going to be using for the eyebrows, I'm going to be using this Dip Brow Pomade. And then this one is in dark brown. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this off camera just because it takes me some time to get my eyebrows to the way that I like them and make sure that they're as even as I could get them, but just because, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera, and then I will come back. Okay, now that I am done with that, I am going to go ahead and prime my face with the Professional. And what this will do, it will end up filling any lines on your face. And then the next thing I'm going to go in with is this 24-hour primer for my eyes. I really like the Professional just because I do feel like my pores, they are on the bigger side, but it's only in my T-zone area. And then for this, you only need a little bit. I also need more of this as well. This stuff, a little bit goes a long way. I have been wanting to try a different one. That one, it has been my go-to for the last few years, but I do really want to try the P. Louise base because I feel like my eyelids, they are kind of tending to be a little bit darker nowadays compared to what they were before. So before, it does lighten it up a little bit. You could kind of tell it doesn't leave your eyes as dark, but I always do want to make sure that it covers a little bit more. And I like it when it kind of carves out the eyebrow. And I heard with that one, you could kind of do stuff similar to that. So the next thing that I'm going to be going in with is this translucent powder. So I am just going to get this brush. It is the Morphe M536. And I'm just going to dab a little bit in there. I don't really need a lot just because I'm just using it for my eyelids. And the reason why I'm doing this is just because the first transition shade that I usually put on, sometimes I feel like it tends to get too tacky in some spots. So I do feel like I have to do the setting powder. So the next brush that I'm going to be using is the M505, and this is what it looks like. And so the palette that I haven't used for a really long time that I've been really wanting to use is the 350. So what I'm going to be using is that. And my palette, it's been used a lot. So this was like always my go-to, but I've stopped using it for a while. Ever since I had gotten the Jaclyn Hill palette, I feel like I gravitated towards that one a whole lot more. So I decided that today I will go ahead and go back and use this one. So for the transition color, I am going to be using this color right here. And I'm going to go ahead and pat some of that product off. I haven't had time to sit down and do my eyeshadow for a while. So being able to do my eyeshadow today, I'm so happy just because it has been a cool minute. The next shade that I'm going to be going in with is going to be this one right here. This is one of my favorite shades out of the palette. And so for stuff like this, I want to get a little bit closer. So I'm going to be, for all of the blending, I'm pretty much going just to be using this brush right here, the M505. And so with this one, you are not going to be able to like notice that much of it. It's kind of more in person. I feel like on camera, it's not really showing how much deeper it's making it. So this brush that I'm going to be using, it is an e.l.f. brush. It's kind of like a flat shader brush. And so I'm just going to be getting that. And I'm going to be getting this shade and this shade. I wish on the Morphe palettes that they did have the names on them, or at least numbered, like the 3501, 3502, like, and such like that, just because I do feel like it makes it easier to tell you guys what I'm using rather than having to pick up the whole palette all over again. So I ended up doing a tutorial today because I had somebody ask me for this tutorial. I believe her name was Christy, and she had commented on one of my pictures and she had wanted to see a makeup tutorial. Usually I wanted to get into doing makeup tutorials, but I just haven't really got into it. The shade that I'm going to be using is this one right here. But I just haven't really gotten into it just because I've been like so busy. Once we had gotten into our house, we've just been doing so many different things. So that's kind of why I feel like I've had time to do like all my DIY stuff that I wanted to get done, but just not my makeup stuff that I also wanted to do. I'm just going to go ahead and get this one again. And I'm going to go back in and pack some in the corner of my eye. So the next one that I'm going to be going in with is this one right here. And I'm going to be going in with this very small blending brush, and it is the M562. I've been liking a lot of the smaller brushes just for the detailed stuff, just because with me, I know I am not a real big fan of like the super big blending brushes. I feel like a lot of times when you use the super big fluffy blending brush, it kind of blurs everything out, and my eyes are so small that if I blur everything out too much, then I do notice it just kind of gets messy and all over the place. So I'm just trying not to do that. I'm going to be going back with that deeper red shade, and I'm just going to start to kind of put the color back in, just because I feel like with going with that transition shade and then that, it kind of, or the color kind of got a little bit lost. So I'm just going to go back in there and buff it in. A tip that one of my friends, she had taught me, was to hold your brush at the end of it. You don't need to be super high up on the brush, just because the brush will do all the work for you. So you kind of just pretty much have to let it. And honestly, I feel like ever since she taught me that, I feel like it was such a game changer that it made everything so much easier. It's not as complicated. So it just made it so much easier. So thank you for that. That is probably one of my favorite tips that she had taught me. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to be doing... Okay, so I ended up getting another palette. I ended up getting the Fetish palette from this is the Fetish palette that is from Kat Von D. And then the color that I'm going to be getting to do the inside of my eye is going to be this one right here. It's called Submissive. And then the brush that I'm going to be using is the M170-8. And this one is just a flat shader brush. And so this one, it's good because it'll go ahead and pack on some product. And what I like to do is spray this, but I am going to be trying to get some of this stuff on there. I think with this shade, I might have to apply it with my hands. Just because I feel like it's not coming off on the brush like I want it to. It still looks very pretty, but I think I'm gonna have to go in with my finger. Okay, so honestly, this doesn't look like I wanted it to. So with this, since it didn't go as planned, I'm just gonna get one of those buffing brushes and kind of just buff this out. And then I'll kind of help get rid of that a little bit. There is still some shimmer there, but that's my trick of kind of getting, if you started to put on a product that you didn't like, usually with chunkier glitters, that kind of helps. So I'm going to be using one of my favorites. This is probably one of my favorite shimmers that I do use on my eyes. And then this one, it is from Micabella. It's their beauty cosmetics. I've had it forever, so I don't even know if they sell it where I live anymore. But this one, it's in the color Shimmer Powder Bronze. And so this is kind of what it looks like. I don't want to tilt it too much just because I know I'll end up spilling it everywhere. So what I like to do is pretty much get my brush soaking wet with the Fix Plus. And then I wipe it on the back of my hand. I wipe it on the back of my hand just because I don't want it to drip everywhere. And with that leftover water, it kind of allows me to go back and pick up some more water if I need it. So with this, it kind of makes it like a metallic paint almost. And look how pretty that is, guys. Oh, I'm not even done yet, and it already looks so pretty. Pigments are definitely always my favorite when it comes to stuff like this, just because a lot of times I feel like they will market things like that are supposed to look as shimmery as this, and it usually doesn't. Like, or if it does, it kind of requires a lot of efforts to make it this shimmery. So I kind of just dabbed it in on the side. I didn't go too heavy. Just because I didn't want it to end up being like a sharp line and then kind of stopping. I am going to go ahead and go back and blend that more. So I am going to go back and dip into this palette a little bit. I'm going to be going in between this shade and then this shade down here. And I'm just basically going to go back and help blend out any lines if I see any. The first shade I'm going to go back in with is the darkest one that I had showed you guys. And I'm just going to go out on the outer V to like put pigment back in there, because I don't know if you guys ever notice is that you guys, I feel like, should always go back and kind of touch up a little bit, just because sometimes when you put on this color, since it is so bold, it kind of tends to wash like all the other stuff out. So I kind of just like to go back. That the shade that I'm going to be using right here to kind of blend this in is that red shade. That was like kind of more towards the middle of the palette. Ooh, that looks so pretty. And I feel like I went in a little bit too much right here, so All right, there we go. Okay, so for now I am done with the eyes, besides having to go in and put my mascara on. The mascara that I'm using is this Lash Paradise. It is from L'Oreal. This one, I do like it way better than, or I wouldn't say way better. I like the Better Than Sex, but if I were to have to choose between one or the other, this one I do feel like it lasts all day, which with me, like, since some days I have things to do in the morning, I don't have time always to touch up my makeup. So I feel like it's important for me to have something that's literally going to last me all day, and I'm not going to have to touch up all day long. So whenever I'm looking for things in a makeup, that's kind of what it is that I don't want to have to go and blot my face or have to touch up my eyelashes or have to, like, go and do all these things. I just like to be done with it, and kind of that's it. Like, the only thing I do notice I had to touch up is my bronzers and my blushes. I don't use blush that often, but when I do notice I do have to touch it up quite a bit. But I think it's because my hands are always on my cheeks and stuff, so I think that's what that is. Okay, so for foundation, now I am going to be using the 5.0, and then after I'm going to add in a little bit of the 6.0. And then the brush that I am going to be using is the M439. With me, I just like to put the foundation on my finger and kind of just rub it in from there. I do plan on trying, there's this one thing that I have seen people doing, which I used to use it before, but I threw the brushes away just because I felt like the foundation started to get packed inside. Like, I felt like it was happening too often where I was packing inside. That's what I mean. I don't use a spot concealer usually unless my scars are very, very bad. Then I'll go ahead and go in with one. But for the most part, I don't feel like I ever have to use one. I love this brush because this brush is so dense that honestly, like, it makes everything so effortless when you are applying your foundation. This one, since it is very dense, it blends out everything well with keeping it very full coverage. Something that I have learned that I feel like it is a tip that I could give you guys. So if you guys are barely starting to use foundation brushes and everything, the best thing that you guys can do is, like, when you find a brush, the more dense that it is, the more full coverage that you're gonna get with it. Before, you kind of used to think it was the other way around, like you use a loose brush then, or like a very flimsy brush. I kind of felt like that was going to be like what gives you full coverage because it doesn't move the foundation around too much. But no, with the way it works is having a more dense brush, this will allow you to have a full coverage foundation. And with me, I don't have horrible skin. I know everybody tells me that, but I just love having a full coverage face. So I'm just going to go back in with the L'Oreal Infallible Translucent Powder, and I am just going to go ahead and dab that in there. And then I'm going to go under my eyes. Brush that I'm going to be using today for my contour is going to be this Morphe brush, and then this one is the M523, and so this is what it looks like. I do need to wash my brushes, so don't judge me. The palette that I have right here is the 8H. This palette, honestly, I can tell you guys, I love this palette. The reason why I ended up getting this palette was actually because I wanted to get the other palette, or I had wanted to get just the single one of the Debutante, I think that's how you say it, is the one right here. That is my favorite shade out of it, but honestly, all of these are great shades. These ones right here. This one I do feel like it's a little bit too dark for me, but sometimes I'll use it anyways. I'll use it in my crease and whatnot. I'll use it for other things. You don't have to use it for a bronzer, so I'll just go back and use it for other things that I know I'm not going to be using it for. So I'm going to get the Debutante in Blogger. And I'm just going to go back and go ahead and bronze my face. I like to kind of like push the product back and then slowly move my way forward, because if you start out here, then it's just going to be too much. And honestly, I just don't like the way it looks when I start like that. I like to work my way up to the front. For this, I like to dab a little bit and kind of go in a circular motion and then go in big circular motions once I get to the tail of my eyebrow. I feel like that kind of which suits my face better than just bronzing up here only. So I like to bronze down here and kind of connect it to my eyebrow. I feel like it gives my face a nice shape to it. And I'll just go a little bit up into my hairline a little bit, and then I'll go back in with just Debutante, and then I'm just going to go back and contour my nose just a little bit. And when I am going up and down on my nose, I'm not pushing it down on the side. I'm just lightly, barely even touching my nose. If I do feel like it gets too dark around my nose, what I'll do is get this brush and kind of like get rid of some of it. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is putting on my eyelashes off camera. The ones that I am going to be using, are right here. This is what they look like. These are the Ardell 251s, and I have to tell you guys that these are the best eyelashes that I have seen. They don't separate from your eyes. They're, out of all the Ardell ones, these ones, they last. You could use them over and over and over. There's times where I've even forgotten how many times I've used them because they just last that long. So out of all their collection, I do notice that these ones, they last the longest and they stay looking nice for a very long time. So that's what I like about these ones. And the glue that I am using for these are the Duo, and then this one's the organic one. Okay, so now I'm just going to get the tweezers and push them into place. I just lost my eyelash, so I'm gonna have to find my other eyelash, so I'll be right back. The thing that I'm going to be doing, I did find my eyelash and it was inside of my robe. Okay, but the next thing that I'm going to be doing, I had finished doing my eyelashes and now I'm going to go ahead and apply my lip. And what I'm going to be using is from Dose of Color, and it's called My Main. This is a collection that Desi and Katie had came out with. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. I don't usually ever use a lip liner with my stuff, so I'm not going to use one today. Alright. And so this is My Main from Dose of Colors. And then the next thing that I'm going to be doing, because I almost forgot, I don't know how I forgot to do this step, but I am going to be using... I'm also going to be using this palette, and I'm going to be going with Venus and Beam. And I'm just going to go ahead and highlight. Alright, you guys, this is the final look. I hope you guys like this video. If you guys have more video requests of things that you would like to see in the future, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And as usual, I'll be back with more videos. Bye!